Welcome, everybody, to another live stream with Intelligent Construction Opportunities. I'm Stephanie Brown, your host and the founder of Intelligent Construction Opportunities. Intelligent Construction Opportunities does these live streams so construction professionals and construction vendors can share their experiences with today's technologies. And if you want to be able to show off your construction technologies, please contact us at Intelligent Construction Opportunities at info@intelops.com. Today, I'm really pleased to have made fast friends, I would say, with somebody who really, in my opinion, has all the depth and all the scope in his area of expertise, being HVAC. So today we welcome Greg Crumpton, Vice President and Industry Liaison at Service Logic. Welcome, Greg.
Well, thank you, Stephanie. It's so good to be here. When I hear you say stuff like that, it just reminds me I turned 60 this year. So I take that with a lot of gumption because it's been a great ride throughout the career and really looking forward to chatting about it today. So thank you for having me.
For sure. Well, it's not often that you run into people that have had the depth of experience, but I think too often people in our generation, I'm in there, that have worked to gain all this experience and all this depth and scope, and then they're sort of in some ways shunted aside as though, well, you're not with it, you're not up to whatever. But I mean, your track record alone in terms of your helping to form and work with Service Logic. I'd like to get you to tell us a little bit about your work with Service Logic and sort of segue into how you initially got involved in the world of HVAC.
Yeah, well, let me start backwards. Let me tell you how I started. Then it'll make more sense, I think, as we unfold it. So I started in the apprenticeship school when I was almost 18. So I had a little bit of a age thing I had to work through, but I got out of high school a little bit early, started in the apprenticeship, went through a 4-year apprenticeship through the UA in the plumbers, pipe fitters, and HVAC technicians training program in Atlanta, Georgia, beginning in 1982. So that tells you my age right there. So went through a great apprenticeship, had some really, really good instructors that were in the trades that taught us, yes, how to do math and how to do science and how to do air conditioning, but really how to work, how to communicate with customers, just how to be a good person really on the job site and at work. And then that kind of bled over into our lives. So I go through this apprenticeship school. I worked for a few different companies while I was going through the apprenticeship, because once I kind of really became infatuated with the HVAC industry, which I still am, I kind of decided, okay, I need to look at a couple of different companies and make sure I understand what type of company I want to go to work for. I found that I like to work for a large independent contractor that gets to work on a lot of different equipment, brands as well as type of equipment. Mm-hmm. So I went through the apprenticeship. I got out of the apprenticeship program. I did every conceivable job that you could do at that company. I was a service tech. I did some installation work. I swept the warehouse. When I was a kid, I got a scar from moving sheet metal around. Project manager, sales, moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, became a division manager, eventually vice president, bought into the company with some equity opportunity. And then in 1997, my wife and I said, hey, let's start our own company and build this the way we want to build it, based on our vision, our principles, our values. So we did that. We started a company called Airtight Mechanical. Great group of people. I still stay in touch with so many of them, of the former Airtight folks. And now, fast forward to 2014, we sold Airtight Mechanical to a private equity backed independent company called Service Logic. So
Ah.
that's how I wound up at Service Logic is they bought our company. So I think our company was number 8 on the Service Logic platform. And now we have done over 130 acquisitions. We have 55 operating companies around North America, 2, in fact, in Toronto, where you are.
Mm-hmm.
So I work on the corporate team, small company. We have a lot of revenue. We do a lot of revenue. We have 7,200 workers, somewhere in that ballpark, 7,200 employees. But we're a small group because we operate on the principle of every company has their own profit and loss responsibility, and they set their own rules of engagement so that our leadership in Toronto, they run their companies like they see fit to run the company. We aren't directly telling them how to run it. So it's just a really unique company. Great people. You're scrolling there. Some of my,
Yeah, I am. Yep.
I mean, and these guys are friends. They're not just business associates. I'm have great rapport with all of our leadership team, and just really enjoy working there. So it's just a good.
And that's what makes business. That's, you have to enjoy the people that you're working with, because no matter what their roles are, like Eric's, for instance, I mean, talent and development, segues beautifully into your role as an industry liaison, in my opinion.
Yeah, and Eric and I work together a lot. We both work for the chief operating officer, Tony Ponzo. And, Tony, we're all three roughly the same age. It's not like Tony feels like he has to babysit us. And he lets us collaborate and really try to do stuff that is good for the company, but more so good for the customers and good for our people that work at Service Logic. So it's just a fabulous place to be. And at this point in life, I'm proud to be doing it because I do enjoy it. I love being able to help build an organization that supports the industry. We do, like I said, 7,200 people, thereabout, maybe more. Is it Friday? We may be buying another company Friday. So we're heavy in the acquisitions. We love to buy great companies and help them get better. We're not the corporate people that you hear about that come in and buy a company and kill half the workforce. We add people and we add money to the organization to help them grow. So,
do you have any sort of, it's such an overused word, use cases or things that describe how you do what you do, how your business model works at Service Logic?
Yeah, and I wish it were more complicated than it is because it sounds kind of, I don't know, it doesn't sound like all this great pomp and circumstance around it. But our goal, Stephanie, is to buy good companies that are ran by good people, and we have a really a pretty finite set of values that we follow when we're acquiring a company, and we pass on a lot of companies. We don't buy a lot of companies that just because somebody's trying to sell it. We don't just buy it for that reason, but we look around and say, do we want those people in the foxhole with us? And if the answer is no, even if it financially looks good, we'll pass just because we want to be able to have good rapport and work with people closely that you want to be with and around and have fun with, not just have this transactional relationship. So our goal is to buy good companies that are service minded, meaning HVAC, service, maintenance, repair. That's the bulk of our work.
Yeah.
And that sell maintenance contracts to building owners, to property owners, so that we build that long-term relationship as opposed to doing one-off construction projects that's not reoccurring. So we like a reoccurring model. We like a relationship that lasts forever kind of business structure. And we've been successful with that so I've been there 10 years now.
Wow.
And we've grown, we were at about, I don't know, 250 million in revenue when I joined the company. And now we're over 2.5 billion in revenue. So it's grown quite a bit.
That's amazing. Congratulations, Greg. I mean, that's quite a, when you look at your org chart, I mean, you've got all the pieces, in my opinion, in play. So of course you're going to only absorb companies that maybe shared a similar vision, maybe on a smaller level.
Absolutely. And our leadership team, I think Steve Jobs said, hire smart people and get out of the way and let them do their work. And we carry a lot of that mantra at our place. We don't have micromanagement. If you hire a professional to run a group of or a section of the company, then get out of the way and let them do what you hired them to do. And we carry that on a daily basis.
Actually, it was another guy from the South, Ted Turner, who I believe said that. He said, lead, follow, or get the hell out of the way.
That's exactly what Ted said.
Yes, yes. Only Ted Turner. Somebody, from Atlanta, and is this, they used to call him, as the mouth from the South. Anyway,
he earned that.
Yeah, he did. He did, and so many people now these days don't even remember who he is and what he did and how he shaped. Well, unfortunately, to some degree, television today.
Well, that whole thing he started with, WTBS was a small TV station, and it blew up. That's what CNN is today. All of that was through Ted Turner. And so when you go to Ted's Montana Cafe and have a buffalo steak, you can think, hey, that's really CNN is where all this started. Pretty cool story.
It is. We could go down a real rabbit hole because there's certain people that are mavericks in this world and in this lifetime. And to me, he's certainly one of them. Yes. I'm sure he must be pushing into his 90s by now, but he's still, for all he went through and taking his father committing suicide and then him taking his sign company and turning it into what you just said, his first television station, which then levered on to his vision for CNN. Anyway, this is why great people, I say as a Canadian, I admire Americans, and I always say you must remember the one thing to me that makes you mostly Americans is your innovation. And that is, to me, underlies everything, no matter what your color, your creed, or whatever.
I love that, Stephanie. And as an American, I am a patriot. I really love our country and what it stands for. And God knows we can get ugly sometimes with ourselves, and we can fight, bitch and moan. But, at the end of the day, we are very fortunate to get to live where we live. But I mutually have the respect for you guys up north. I think that what you guys represent from building educational platforms, especially right now in the skilled trades, is so far ahead among other countries that you are a model that we should and hopefully do and are learning from, of how to get going earlier in the educational process for skilled trades training programs, or at minimum exposure and awareness.
Yeah, there was just a press release that came out today from our government here in Ontario, where they're investing another $26 million to build a new training center for the skilled trades.
That's great news.
So that's part of a larger $224 million project.
Love it.
But this is why people like you must have as big a voice, Greg, as you will possibly allow, because it's people like you. So one of the things I was going to say, so you said that you had an intrigue with HVAC. So I want to understand, as an 18-year-old young man, what was it that turned your crank about HVAC more than any other trade?
So I grew up as the son of an HVAC technician.
Oh, okay.
So I have throughout my life been exposed to working and getting on rooftops and getting in basements and working on boilers and climbing around stuff. Most kids, when they get a day off, they want to go to the water park or something and hang out with their friends. Not me. I laced up my Kmart work boots and I went to work with that, but just because I liked it. And, having that exposure at an early age, I learned how to do a lot of stuff early, like wiring, like how to braze copper tubing. We built my grandparents' house, so I was instrumental in pulling all of the wire for that house, running a lot of the copper tubing and the PVC waste lines. So I just learned a lot of stuff of how to do quote unquote trades, just as a kid growing up. And then once I got into a setting, and you say 18-year-old young man, I'll say 18-year-old old boy, because my brain did not really kind of kick in there for a little while. But it came easy to me. I understood electricity really well. I understand metallurgy really well. And the vapor compression cycle, which is what makes air conditioning, deliver cold air or cold water. I just got it, and I just loved it. I got out of school, and then the year after I got out of school, I went back as an instructor in the apprenticeship program, and I did that for a number of years. So it came natural, and it was something that I really enjoyed. So it didn't take a lot for me to get excited about it.
All right. So I'm curious now, if there's like people listening to us or will listen to our recording, what would you recommend if somebody seems to be able to wrap their arms around this early on? Mm-hmm. What, from a technology perspective, what do you think today's HVAC apprentice is different perhaps than what you experienced yourself?
So two things. Obviously, the curriculum has shifted a bit. It's become much more advanced than it was when I was a kid. And then the learning style and the nature and of how people learn. I'm actually working with a young man who just started his technical school 11 days ago. He's working for a contractor here I live in Greenville, South Carolina. He's working for a local contractor. I guess, kind of being his tutor, his mentor, helping him get started. It's a great story. My wife met his mom in a dress shop, and this lady's like, my kid's thinking about air conditioning, going to tech school. My wife says, "Hey, let me connect you with my husband." Next thing you know, Henry and I are working together. So what I tell him, or what I've told Henry, and what I tell all young people, you've got to understand electricity before you ever worry about air conditioning, because nothing happens in air conditioning until an electric motor starts. So you've got a compressor, you got fan motors, you got all this stuff that's electrical in nature. You have to master electricity before you worry about air conditioning. So my goal is always, as I told Henry, start at electrical 101, then go to HVAC 101, because it'll really help you understand the sequence of operation of an air conditioner before you have to worry about the pumping of refrigerant and the moving of refrigerant. And then, the other point that I mentioned is how people are learning differently. And, over the course of the 40 years between Henry and I going to school, or Henry and me going to school separately, his life is much more micro-focused now. He can't concentrate and read a book for 30 minutes because he's been trained since he was a kid on an iPad to watch a cartoon on the iPad. So his way of learning is different than mine was. So we have to adjust our learning platforms and our curriculum development to appeal to the mind of a young person nowadays. And part of that is content delivery bursting. So rather than giving them a chapter to read, give me 4 pages on a specific piece of the chapter. And let's do it in micro burst training, a phrase that I learned from my buddies at Ving, V-I-N-G. Tony over there taught me a lot about micro burst training. So I think that's important. And then the technology, just keeping up with what has become digitized versus analog. Has changed immensely over the last 40 years. even down to the instruments that the technicians are using now. We're able to get much more precise readings and diagnose air conditioning systems a lot more systemically, as opposed to just using the analog gauges and 1 meter that we used to carry. So,
right. So you've had the opportunity to work and advise with some innovative startups in the energy and building technology sectors. What trends or technologies are you most excited for the future as it relates to HVAC? And thank you for sharing that story. This is the kind of stuff to me that needs to be talked about more, but in a logical way.
well, thank you for that. As far as technology in the air conditioning world, everybody hears the term electrification, heat pumps, heat pumps, heat pumps, do away with fossil fuels. That sounds really good if you're running for office, but truth is we're not going to eliminate fossil fuels in any, we can't. Simply, we can't, because the electrical grid can't support all of the electrification at this point. So as we're moving towards more electrification, understand the different sciences that are out there. Understand natural gas, understand propane, understand heat pumps, understand the wide breadth of opportunities as opposed to just focusing on one sector. And then, I spend a lot of time in the data center world. I love how we remove heat from data centers. Liquid cooling at the chip level is really fascinating, and some of the changes that industry is going through are phenomenal. But yet, the data center industry is struggling with getting adequate manpower, just like the trades are. Somebody has to maintain all of these facilities. Somebody has to understand how a data center operates. So I'm part of a group called the Nomad Futurists, where we are trying to attract young people into the infrastructure world of data centers. How do you understand networking? How do you understand power distribution? How do you understand cooling? All of that has to happen. And, we carry one of these devices around with us all the time now. Well, nothing on this thing happens without a data center or 12 involved. So the big piece of the world is digitized. And luckily, I get to play in both worlds. I get the physical side with the skilled trades, and then I understand the digital part. And that's where the Nomad Futurist volunteering comes in.
But this is why people like you, as far as I'm concerned, need the kind of respect that because you have transitioned as your career has evolved to have to absorb the reality. And you just said something really important to me. It's not enough for somebody to understand one school of energy. If you understand all of the energies, then you can choose and make more educated decisions, not only how you're using it in the context of your own career, but how you make decisions about other things in the broader infrastructure. So again, thank you for sharing that. So I want to talk a little bit about Adam's power use of solid state circuit breakers, and AI is transforming how power is distributed in buildings. How do you see innovations like these shaping the future of, in this case, commercial real estate?
Well, Atom Power is the world's first and only fully electronic circuit breaker. So, circuit breakers have been around forever, but they require a problem before they work. You have to have a thermal problem, meaning you're pulling too much current or too many amps through the breaker. It gets hot and then it opens. Fully electronic circuit breaker technology that Atom Power invented and has patented and is now manufacturing can sense the current that's being pulled. It also looks upstream at the power available. And if it sees an anomaly on the power incoming to, let's call it an electrical motor, rather than letting that dirty power or phase imbalance or what have you pass through the circuit breaker and hit the motor and then cause a problem, what the Atom switch will do is proactively open that circuit. And it's so fast, Stephanie, the motor doesn't even realize it lost power. It lets that anomaly stop and come back into normal tolerance. The breaker recloses and puts power back on the motor. All of that happens 14,000 times faster then the traditional circuit breaker could have caught that problem. So we make operations more efficient. We make companies have less of a safety issue. But the really unique part, and you alluded to this with controls and interoperability, the Atom Power Switch is an IP device or IT device that you give an IP address. So it lives on your network. So if you have Atom Power switches on every floor or, throughout an electrical circuit breaker panel, you can remotely, look in real time at your electrical load and control it. You can program the circuit breaker to tell it what it is. You're a 50 amp circuit breaker with a timing trip current set at these numbers. It's just a phenomenal piece. The newest thing that we've really found, I guess the breakthrough for it has been in EV charging, because now we can regulate the power going out to the electrical charging stations so you don't overload a panel. If everybody plugs in and they need 100% charge, now we can regulate and control the flow to each car to make everybody charge evenly. Or if the building owner says, hey, I want mine to be top priority, we can say, okay, power pole number 1, you get priority. So it's very customizable in the delivery of electricity as well as monitoring of power. So atompower.com, love it. I'm been lucky to be there for 9 or 10 years now as an advisor, as a startup equity owner, and it's just going to get better from here.
Very good. So I just want to switch gears quickly. As it concerns your philanthropy and what you're interested in, as you're deeply committed to community and philanthropy, how do you balance your professional role in this fast evolving industry, all what you just dropped here in terms of atom power? How does all that balance out? And I noticed that animal welfare is such a close thing to my own heart. How does that work with your time?
Well, my wife and I have been married for almost 39 years, and we know that we wouldn't have anything if we didn't give away part of what we have. So we really put a lot of emphasis on, and a financial advisor that actually my mom used, that we got introduced to years and years ago. I'm not with him now, but he taught us a saying that's biblical that says, he who has much to give. We've always lived with that, Stephanie. We've had little and we've been flush and everywhere in between. But we always go back to, we have to keep giving time, talent, and treasure away, or what good are you doing? It's a much bigger picture than what we're living through now. Eternity is a big void that we're all striving to be on the good side of. And I just think it's our duty to do it. So we make time to do it. It's a dedicated budget line item for us every month in our budget. And that's just how we live. Wow.
Well, I want to thank you for taking your time today and just beginning, as far as I'm concerned, to unwrap all of what you are and what you understand and what you know. Your philosophy and how your values are clearly a put through for the rest of how you address, I guess, your work life. And I can't thank you enough for taking the time today, Greg. I hope we can do it again sometime.
Well, I certainly appreciate the opportunity to get to talk to you, Stephanie. Every time we have a talk, I've always enjoyed it. So doing it with our friends on LinkedIn is only better. So thank you for having me. I really did appreciate the time to get to talk about it. But, I try to live what I talk. So I've got to go get busy again at 2:00 because that's what we do. So off we go.
That's what we do. So I'll let you go. But again, thank you so much. And we'll see you on the other side.
Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.